Hello students. Today I'm taking the topic of gene mapping. This is also known as genome mapping. So let's see what is the gene mapping. Gene mapping, the mapping or a map, any kind of map. Suppose that you are going to a city and you want to locate somebody's house. So what you need a map of it. So here also researchers do the same thing when they need to locate a particular gene in the entire genome. So genome you can see like your city and the particular gene like a house you are looking for or a place you are looking for. So you need a map to reach to that particular location, right? So here that particular location will be called as loci. So what is so for that to locate particular that gene, we need to have a map, right? And why we need to locate a particular gene? There is a need. There is a we want to know about that gene. Maybe that gene is responsible for certain kind of diseases. Okay, so these are the reasons by for which we need the location of the gene, and for the location of the gene you need a gene map or a genome map, right? So gene mapping describes the methods used to identify the locus of a gene and the distance between gene, right? Because genome is too big and you need a particular location. So sometime we know the nearby gene, so we can say that this particular gene is present near to that gene. Suppose that you know somebody's house, so you can say that Mr. X is living near to Mr. Y. So like that you can give a relative location or relative distance between the genes and you can talk about. The essence of all genome mapping is to place a collection of molecular markers onto their respective position on the genome. So what does it mean? It means suppose that you have this is your genome. In that particular genome, suppose that you want to make a mark that this is the this area one gene is present, here one gene is present, here that gene is present, here that gene is present. So what you are doing, you are making a mark in the whole genome that where the gene is present, right? So like that these methods or things what is applied as a marker on the genome called as the markers. Okay, sometimes what happens, the genome itself, means gene itself, suppose that this is your genome or a whole DNA fragment, and you are marking it through the gene. Suppose that you are saying the gene A is present here and the gene B is present here. So what does it mean? It means you are using gene as a marker. Means you said gene A is a one marker, gene B is a one marker. Suppose that these two markers you have placed, right? So that way also you can locate, or you can say that where the marker A and B has been placed, marker A and B has been placed somewhere in the middle, that particular gene is present. So like that you have to place the markers, and these markers are of various forms. So as I told you, gene can be viewed as one special type of genetic markers in the construction of genome maps and mapped the same way as the other markers. Before moving further, I would like to make certain things clear to you. So one thing you understood, that gene mapping is nothing just to locate a gene in the total genome. You have found in the total genome. When we say gene, so what gene talks about? When we talk about the gene, so gene, when you study the gene, what gene will give you? Gene will give you genotype information, right? Or genotypic information. Gene will give you genotypic information. These genes, when they get expressed, already you have seen in the protein synthesis chapter that gene expression, when the gene expresses, so what is happening here, when you get a genotype or genotypic information, so it means the all information about the gene, that's the genotypic information. Now when this gene get expresses, so this genotypic information will give you phenotypic information, right? Phenotypic information. Phenotypic word came from physical appearance, or you can say when the genetic information converted into physical form, it gives you the phenotypic information. So like that, genotypic information will give you the phenotypic information. For understanding that, you already know that in uh, every cell we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. We have 23 pairs of chromosome. So these 23 pairs of chromosome, you know that 22 are called as the autosomes, right? Autosomal chromosomes, and one is called as the sex chromosome. Okay, so like that, 22 plus one pair of chromosomes. Okay, and these 23 pairs present in all the cells of our body. Now when we say genetic map, or you have created a genetic map by using this information, so what the genetic map gives you, the location of all the genes, right, present in that genome is called as the genetic map. So if you have given one information where you have this genome, and you are telling that here one gene, here one gene, here one gene, here one gene, one gene, one gene, like that information you have given. So actually this is what is looking like is a genetic map, right? Here you are writing is this gene X, it is gene Y, it is gene Z, it is gene A, it is gene B, it is gene C, like that. So this has become a one genetic map, and now here you are writing here what this gene works. Suppose that it's for color of the eye, color of eye, this is for some purpose, this is for some purpose, this is for some purpose, this is other, this is other. So like that, this whole information which is looking like in this slide, it's like a genetic map. So that's what genetic map need to be created. So later again we will discuss about this particular point. There's gene these maps can be of two type. One is called linkage map, one is called linkage map, and another one is called physical map. Okay, linkage map and physical map. Now what first we'll see a little detail about the little minutes about the linkage map. So the linkage map actually tells the corresponding location of two genes. Okay, linkage map will tell you corresponding location of two genes. That gene A is present this much far from the gene B. And these genes, how close proximity they are presently, or how distantly they are present. So comparative location you will get through the linkage map. While in the physical map is present that particular gene is present in that particular chromosome or not present, right? So exactly you will know where this particular gene is present in that. So that description will come under the physical map. Now, when we say the linkage map or the word linkage, what does it mean? When we say the word linkage, it means there are few things which are linked, right? There are few things which are linked. So, what is linked here? When we say this is linkage map, means you are studying something which are linked. So, what is linked here? The linked are the genes. So, means what you are studying, linkage of these genes, right? Means how the one gene linked with the other gene. Okay, and this way when you are studying about this, you are actually studying about the gene linkage. Okay, Now, I'll tell you one thing here. Why this linkage study is needed. You have seen that crossing over method in the cell chapter. Suppose that this is a one chromosome, this is a one gene, this is another gene, right? So this is gene A, this is the gene B. Now what happens, these genes which are present on these places, when the crossing over will happen, the crossing over will happen like this, right? When the crossing over will happen like this, then these genes, this gene and this gene will get separated, right? So the separation of gene is actually the basic information behind the inheritance. Okay, so that is what, if these genes are separated during the cell division, in the same way it can go into the another progeny as well. So this is the thing what is happening here. So now gene gets separated in crossing over. One thing you got to understand, that genes are get separated in the crossing over. Closer the gene, the change of or chances of getting separation is very low. Suppose that the gene is present here and another gene is present here, right? So now it means if these genes has to get separated, if these genes has to get separated, how the crossing over should happen? Should happen in between of them. If there is a crossing over happens in between of them, then only these two genes get separated. But if the crossing over happens here, there will be no separation. So the location or the closeness of these genes or their linkage information is actually the basis of the crossing over and the genes get separation or genes separation. Okay, so closer the gene, the chances of getting separation is very low. Now if the genes are separated distantly, like one is here and one is here, separated distantly, so what has happened, their chances of separation is more, which you can say in other words, the more recombination is possible, or you can say the more recombination chances are there. In it means more recombination, it means the recombination chances are also depend on the distance of the genes, right? So here also you are studying about the gene linkage. Okay, now if you are talking about the recombination chances, this is also reflected in terms of recombination frequency. This is called recombination frequency. So if the two genes which are present separately or distantly, the recombination frequency will be higher, and those genes which are present very closely, like this pink and white, their chances of getting separation, or their chances of, or you can say their recombination frequency will be lower. So that way you can understand this particular point. So this is the first condition. You can say this is the first condition I have shown you here. This is the first condition where one gene is here, one gene is here, right? This is, you can consider condition, sorry, you can consider it as a condition 1. You can consider it as a condition 1. This is condition 1 where two genes are separate, presented like this. Now here I will show you the condition 2. What is happening in the condition 2? Here you can see the gene is present, one gene is present here and another gene is present here. Okay, so this is the gene A. Here also you can write this is gene A, this is gene B. Here you can say gene A and B both are present in that particular location. So what is happening here? If crossing over takes place in the other limb, suppose that the crossing over takes place here, it means the chances of their frequency is very low, because now they are very close, and if the crossing over happens here, it means they won't get separated, so separation will not happen. So like that, what you can say in terms of the recombination frequency, the chances of separation is very low in the condition B, in the condition 2 compared to the condition 1. Okay, so same way the recombination frequency will be low, and the what called the less number of recombinations will happen, right? So now we see the condition 3. So what is happening in the condition 3? Here we can make a condition 3 here. What is happening here? Suppose that the genes which are present, one is here and another is like here. Okay, so what will happen? The very less separation chances, as the crossing over needs from in between. Now what you need, actually the crossing over should happen in between, so the chances are very very low. You can see as the condition 1 2 3, the frequency, the recombination frequency is decreasing, the chances of separation is decreasing, as well as the number of recombination units will form, that will be very less. Okay, so here actually you can see one more condition. You can see the fourth condition, where you have these genes, and you can see one is here, one is here, or just over it, like that. You consider two here. So here the uh, this is fourth condition. So what is happening here? The recombination frequency is very low and the chances of separation is almost impossible. Okay, so that is what it is very important to know the links between the two genes, right? What is their position of the genes in that genome? So it is very important to understand. Now I'll tell you about this linkage. There are two type of linkages are usually known. One is called as the complete linkage, and another one is called incomplete linkage. What do you mean by the complete linkage? Complete linkage means linked genes do not get separated because they are present very very close, right? So because they are present very very close, they will not get separated. That's why it's called complete linkage, means their linkage is complete, so they are not allowing any kind of crossing over. Where in incomplete gene, they are present in quite distant, where the crossing over is easily possible, and because of the crossing over easily possible, the separation is also there. So this kind of information has been given in detail by the Morgan. Morgan has studied the Drosophila, which we call it as the fruit fly. You know that the Drosophila was the first organism which complete genome has been what called the mapped. So first organism whose genome is completely mapped, that is Drosophila. So what they have taken there, they have taken the body color and the wing shape as two different genes. One gene of body color, which is responsible for body color, another gene they have taken which is responsible for wing shape. Okay, so like on these two bases, they have compared, they have found out the linkage between these two genes. So once you say the gene mapping, what the how the gene, actually you want to know how the genes are located in the chromosome. So that's what the gene map will give you the information. So and most of the time it has been observed, or the genes, the location of the genes on the chromosomes are always linear, right? They are always present on the linear. So that linkage establishment is quite easy in that way. So you can see that there is a one, here is the one gene, here is a one gene, and here your another arm. So what is happening uh, here, this is one allele of the gene. Allele word is used for the variants, right? So this is a one variant of a gene, this is another variant of a gene, both are present in the same chromosome in two different arms, right? So when there is a crossing over either from here or from here, there is 100% chance that they will get separated. Okay, and this way you can get the recombination frequency and the map. Now what happens to indicate these two very important points? So already I told you there is one is recombination frequency, another is called map unit. Map unit will tell you the distance between one gene to other gene. For example, there is a one uh, fragment where this is gene A, this is gene B. So what you can say, the gene A is present 10 map unit away from the gene B. So if this is a 10 map unit away from the gene B, so like that you can differentiate between gene A and gene B is present on the 10 map units. Same time, if this whole length you consider as 100%, then you can say the frequency of recombinant frequency of gene A and B is 10%. The recombination frequency of gene A and B is 10%. Okay, so like that you can understand. If I put you one question that gene A and B is 20 unit apart and gene A and gene C is 10 unit apart. Now, what is the location between the gene A and gene C? This is a question for you, gene A and gene C. So how we'll get to know? In that way, we have to go into the mapping and we have to find out first what is the location of the gene A. Suppose that we found this is gene A, and then we have located gene gene B here, right? And so we can say, okay, gene A and gene B is having 20 map unit difference. Now, but 10 C is 10, means A and C is 10 units. So now there are two chances here. What are these two chances? Either gene C is present here or gene C is present here. Both are possible, right? So here is gene C or here is gene C are there. So that's why this distance can be 10 or this distance can be 10. Okay, so both are possible. So by which two conditions are possible? One, maybe they are present like CAB or they are present like ACB. Okay, so like that genetic gene map gives the information regarding the location and the linkage of the two genes. I hope you understand what I am trying to convey here. This blank slide I used as a blackboard. So there are two type of gene mapping. Genetic mapping using linkage analysis to determine the relative position between two genes on a chromosome. Already I explained you this particular point. Physical mapping using all available techniques or information to determine the absolute position of gene on chromosomes. Here is the word used, absolute. So what you need to know, the absolute position of the gene, right? You don't want to know that the gene A is present this much away from gene B, but where the gene A is present. So that is what the physical map will give you. In means physically you can locate that this is the particular gene. So what the physical map will give you, that's that information, right? The first genetic map constructed in the organism such as the fruit fly use genes as, here in the fruit fly they have used genes as a marker and have done it. Now we'll see genetic mapping. Genetic mapping offers evidence that a disease transmitted from parent to child is linked to one or more genes and provides clue about which chromosome contains the gene and precisely where the gene lies on that chromosome. So genetic mapping, what it gives the information that the disease which has been transmitted from parent to child, this particular disease is linked with which gene and how many genes and where these genes are located. Okay, so this information will get by the genetic mapping. Genetic mapping, which is also called as linkage mapping, because you are doing the linkage analysis there, can offer firm evidence that a disease transmitted from parent to child is linked to one or more genes. So this you will get information. What information? That disease transmitted from parent to child is linked to one or more genes. Genetic maps have been used successfully to find the gene responsible for relatively rare single gene inherited disorders such as cystic fibrosis. You might be remember about the about the cystic fibrosis, which is a disease happens on when there is a mutation in the gene on chromosome 7, and that gene is responsible for making the CFTR protein. CFTR is cystic fibrosis transmembrane regulator protein. So if that gene get mutated on the chromosome 7, then cystic fibrosis is happening. So you need to identify where that CF particular gene on chromosome 7 is actually located. Also, it's for the DMD syndrome. DMD syndrome is actually a mutation on the X chromosome, which is this gene is responsible for making the DMD gene is responsible for making the functional dystrophin protein. Okay. So genetic maps are also useful in guiding scientists to the many genes that are believed to play a role in the development of more common disorders, such as, so by the genetic maps, scientists are working on the, to locate the genes for asthma, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, psychiatric conditions, any disease which has any little bit of the genetic role, they can find out. So in maybe the what called therapeutics of the diseases will be changing in future, will be having the only genetic treatments. Here there is a one information or the diagram for genetic map. Here you can see the first one looks as a genetic map, right, where the information is there of the relative genes. Second is the cytogenetic map. When you see the even broader way, means where the cell in the cell where these genes are located actually. Physical map gives you more accurate information of their particular location where actually that particular gene is present. DNA sequence, you can see the small fragment of the that unit has been elaborated in terms of the base pairs. So like that they can identify exactly in this particular gene which particular base pairs or which particular bases are getting mutated. So exactly we can find it out. How to create a genetic map? To produce a genetic map, researchers collect blood or tissue samples from members of the families in which a certain disease or trait is prevalent. Using various laboratory techniques, the scientists isolated DNA from these samples and examine it for unique patterns that are seen only in family members who have the disease or trait. Now you can understand what the process they have done. They find something something from the body and then isolated the DNA of the all members, and then they will map them and they will find the similarity or the dissimilarity, what the commonness is there, what the rareness is there in that particular thing, and they'll identify that particular problem in the gene or the disease causing reason. As I told you, Thomas Hunt Morgan around in 1911 has worked on it, and he has found out the gene for eye color located on the X chromosome of fruit fly. So this is little history of it. Genetic markers. Now we'll move to the genetic markers. The term used to describe any observable variation. Keep in mind the term observable variation. So anything which can be described as an observational variation that results from an alteration or mutation at a single genetic locus. So for that is your marker. Okay, so that is what they find their marker and then they follow that. Genetic markers are differences in the DNA sequence of chromosomes derived from two different parents, and these polymorphism can visualize in several different ways. So genetic markers are differences in the DNA sequence of chromosomes derived. Okay, so like that you can understand these differences has been identified. Once they are identified or marked, they are the markers. The ultimate goal of a gene mapping is to clone gene, especially disease genes, right? Once a gene is cloned, we can determine its DNA sequence and study its protein product. It means to understand the entire gene mapping, we have to understand the gene cloning as well. That we'll discuss in the next class. For example, cystic fibrosis. In 1985, the gene was mapped to chromosome Q7Q31 and Q32 by linkage analysis. 4 years later, it was cloned by Francis Collins and his co-workers. We know now that the disease is caused by the defect of a chloride channel, the protein product of this disease gene. So we know that this particular gene is producing certain kind of protein, which protein is affecting the chloride channel and causing this particular disease. Genetic mapping requires informative markers. Okay, so that is very important, that in markers selected should be very informative, because that on that basis only you are going to describe that whole condition. Morphological markers are visible markers which can be identified by simply observing the phenotype of individuals. So some markers have been called as the morphological markers, which can be physically observable. The only gene that could be studied were those specifying phenotype that were distinguishable by visual examination. For example, eye color, height. Okay, it means you can only study those genes which are giving some kind of phenotype, right? Any gene which is responsible to think like that, that kind of informations you cannot identify. So you need something which can be converted into phenotypic information, or which can physically observable. Some organisms have very few visual characteristics, so gene mapping with those organisms has to rely on biochemical phenotype. Now, another term here other than morphological, because morphological is more on phenotypic. Here this is also phenotypic, but this is biochemical phenotypic, where some biochemical agents, some enzymes, some factors you are identifying, right? And that you, by that you are finding out the differences. So what are these biochemical markers in human? In human, the biochemical phenotype that can be scored by blood typings. These include the standard blood groups such as the ABO series and also the human leukocyte antigens HLA system. Big advantage of these markers is that many of the relevant genes have multiple alleles. Alleles, already I have told you, allele means variants of that gene, right? Suppose that gene A, so gene A has, suppose that 3 variants, gene A, gene 1A, gene 1B, gene 1C. So like that, gene has the 3 variants. So just these variants called as allele. For example, the gene called HLA-DRB1 has at least 290 alleles. Now you see, DRB1 gene has 290 alleles and HLB has over 400 alleles. You remember this during and during you can understand when you are studying about the receptors, you have seen that G protein coupled receptors or the muscarinic receptors have various types, like M1, M2, M3, M4. So these are the different alleles of that particular gene who's making the different receptors. This is relevant because if all the family members have the same allele for the gene being studied, in the no useful information can be obtained. If they are all having same allele, then how can we identify the differences, right? Which gene has got modified? So that's what the alleles are very important to give you the differences. Now we'll see something about DNA markers. DNA marker must have at least 2 alleles to be useful. Commonly used DNA markers are RFLP, or which we call it as restriction fragment length polymorphism, were among the first to develop DNA markers. Next is the VNTRs, or variable number of tandem repeat polymorphism, right? So occurs in non-coding regions of the DNA. So like that, these different markers are there which are used to identify that particular location or the differences in those genes. Another is the microsatellite polymorphism, are defined by a variable number of repetitions of a very small number of base pairs within a sequence. Oftentimes, these repeats consist of the nucleotides or bases cytosine and adenosine. The number of repeats for a given microsatellite may differ between individuals. Hence the term polymorphism, because different morphologies has been created, so we call it as polymorphism. Also, single nucleotide polymorphism is there, maybe very common term you have heard, SNPs. So SNPs are having very important role. They usually are individual point mutations. They are point mutation, means particular point you just uh, you know make it a different, or make it a crossing over from there, or substitution of a single nucleotide that do not change the overall length of the DNA sequence. So these all are methods of the called as DNA markers. Here you can see how the RFLP works. Just example of one DNA marker. Polymorphic restriction site. You can see allele 1. This is a polymorphic restriction site. Here you can see allele 1 and allele 2. Allele 1 has having 3 sites and allele 2 has 2. So when the restriction endonuclease enzyme plays a role, they can cut the allele 1 into 4 fragments, but the allele 2 into 3 fragments only. Okay, so like that, these RFLPs do this job, right? They can polymorphic restriction site, here where the RFLP is playing the role. The DNA RFLP itself is a very big topic. So what the method and how the technique. Here you just to understand that this is one of the DNA marker, and it works like this. The DNA molecule on the left has a polymorphic restriction site marked with the asterisk that is not present in the molecule on the right. The RFLP is revealed after treatment with the restriction enzyme because one of the molecule is cut into 4 fragments where the other is cut into 3 fragments. Genetic distance between two loci is measured in Morgan. This is what the genetic map, the map unit, we call it as map unit, is the Morgan, and is the expected number of crossover to occur between those two loci on a chromosome in a gamete. Right? Means loci is measured in Morgan. So you know that how much Morgan that loci is present, and is the expected number of crossovers to occur between these two loci. Like I have given you example, the gene A, gene B present in the one chromosome. So you can see how many places the crossing over can be happen, right? Another unit is centimorgan, is a more commonly used measures of distance and corresponds to 1/100 of a morgan. DNA-based genetic markers rely on differences in DNA sequences, which we call it as polymorphism. The big terms, but you can, if you once you understand, you'll understand what they mean. So differences in DNA sequence is called polymorphism. DNA 1 differences into there are 5 differences in the that particular DNA sequence. So it means it is having the polymorphism. Polymorphism can result from various factors that lead to either nucleotide change in difference in DNA segment length, such as mutations, errors in DNA. This is what we're talking. The polymorphism can result from various factors, right? So how the polymorphism actually comes, how these differences comes. So these differences can come either by mutation or by errors in DNA replication, or some insertions happen, some inversions happen, some deletions of the DNA fragment happen. So anything happening which make a change will give you the polymorphism. Here, detection of polymorphism, DNA-based genetic markers. So how to detect these polymorphism? There are several established approaches for the detection of the polymorphism using molecular markers, including restriction, RFLP, random amplified polymorphic DNA, RAPD, amplified fragment length polymorphism, AFLP, sequence tagged site STS, microsatellite or simple sequence repeats SSRS, and single nucleotide polymorphism SNPs. By that, different markers have been used and to detect the polymorphism. From linkage analysis to genetic maps, during meiosis, the process whereby gametes are produced, two copies of each chromosome pair become physically close. Okay, this is a normal process. You know what happened into the mitosis process later. There also two units comes closer. The chromosome arm can then undergo breakage and exchange segments of DNA, a process referred to as a recombination or a crossing over. I hope you understand this point very well. Already you have seen what the crossing over happens. Whenever there is a new cell formation, they'll go, chromosomes go closer with each other and then they cross over. When they cross over, the informations are shared or the genes are getting separated. Okay, in recombination, and that form, when it is crossover and a new daughter formed with both the information, means one chromosome and another chromosome, both information comes into the daughter, we call it as a recombinant. That is a recombinant. So if recombination occurs, each chromosome found in the gamete will consist of a mixture of a material from both members of the chromosome pair. Thus, recombination events directly affect the inheritance pattern of those genes involved. So like that, you can identify the inheritance pattern. So exactly, we should understand what the role of the crossing over here. Chromosomal crossing over is the biological phenomena occurring during meiosis that underpins genetic variation in the population. Okay. In the process of meiosis, two non-sister chromatid undergoes recombination. Okay, they are the non-sister chromatids undergoing recombination. This is called crossing over, where homologous portions of the chromatids exchange places. Okay, homologous portions means similarly looking portions. Okay, this results in recombinant chromatid, which are combination of the maternal and paternal chromosomes and non-recombinant chromatids identical to the parallel parental chromosomes per chromosome. So what is happening? What result you got? Recombinant chromatids and non-recombinant chromatids. So two things are very clear here: chromatids and recombinant chromatids and non-recombinant chromatids, right? So when the combination of the maternal and paternal chromosome together is called the recombinant. Non-recombinant were identical to the parental chromosome, means same to same. There is no difference. Then it's called as the non-recombinant chromatids. This is an example of the crossing over, how it is happening between the sister chromatids of the same chromosome. Alleles at three loci A, B and C are shown. You can see A, B and C, right? So here you can see the A, B and C, here A, B and C, like that everywhere the A, B, C will be there. Now this is a one this is a one arm, this is another one, two chromosomes, because always present in the group. Now here you can see the arms are getting crossing over. Okay, arms are getting crossing over. You can see the gene B, you can see the gene B and gene C is getting separated now, right? Gene B and gene C is getting separated, not gene A and B. Okay, so what is happening here? You can see B and C. You got this. This is your new formation where this separation of the gene happened. Now this gene B, gene C, this gene C, if you see, this particular gene C, capital C, is gone here. Okay, in place of this capital C, the small c has been taken place here. So now the new combination is A, capital B and small c, where here is small a, small b and capital C, like what the crossing over does. Okay, you can understand this. As one cannot physically see crossing over events, it is difficult to determine with any degree of certainty how many crossovers have actually occurred. But using the phenomena of co-segregation of allele of nearby markers, researchers can reverse engineer meiosis and identify markers that lie close to each other. Very complex process here. It is that that how many crossovers happen, that they exactly, because you cannot see that, so that you cannot understand. So they do the reverse engineering, and by that they can find out. Then using a statistical technique called genetic linkage analysis, researchers can infer a likely crossover pattern, and from that one order of the markers involved. Means what? First, when they identify the genetic linkage, so they can understand the loci and their distances, and on that basis they can predict that how many crossovers can be possible, right? Are they distantly located, or they are very closely located? On that basis they will define it. Researchers can also infer and estimate for the probability that a recombination occurs between each pair of markers. Like that, they can give a one probability score that maybe these, by seeing the linkage analysis, they can predict the crossing over or the recombinant frequencies. If recombination occurs as a random event, then two markers that are close together should be separated less frequently than two markers that are more distant from one another. Already discussed about it. If you then determine the recombination frequencies for different pairs of markers, you can construct a map of the relative positions on the chromosome. Like that, if you know this, you can make a map. Some chromosomal regions called recombination hotspots. Nowadays, this word hotspot is scaring us because of the corona hotspots. So some chromosomal regions called recombination hotspots means more there are, these are the places where the chances of recombination is high, or the chances of crossing over is very very high. This means the genetic map distance does not always indicate physical distance between markers. Genetic map are also used to generate the essential backbone or the scaffold needed for the creation of a more detailed human genome map. These detailed maps, called as the physical maps, further define the DNA sequence between genetic markers and are essential to the rapid identification of the gene. As I told you, physical, now you need a more detailed information, you need a more accurate information, and you need the absolute location, then you need to go for the physical mapping. Here you can see altogether how many gene maps can be created. So gene maps can be created like genetic map, physical map, transcription map, and sequence map. So I'll not describe all this in detail here, just to know you. How to do gene mapping? Now there are certain techniques, actually the 5 different distinct techniques which have been utilized to do these genetic mapping. Here gene map means all these 5 techniques are including the genetic mapping as well as physical mapping. Technique 1, gene mapping by in situ hybridization. Technique 2, gene mapping by somatic cell hybridization. Technique 3, gene mapping by gene dosing using patient cell. Technique 4, gene mapping by chromosomal aberration. Technique 5, gene mapping by linkage analysis. So these are the 5 different techniques. One by one we'll see these techniques. I'll not tell you much detail about it. Each single slides for each technique I'll explain. Technique 1, which is called gene mapping by in situ hybridization, this method which involves hybridizing labeled DNA or rRNA probes directly to the metaphase chromosome. The hybridization can be defined like the process of an animal or plant breeding with an individual of another species or variety. So you can understand the hybridization this way. How this can be done? Uh, in this also there are 3 different methods by which this particular technique can be applied. In situ hybridization using a radio labeled probe. In that, what you need to do, in take a particular cell and identify that particular that DNA sequence in that, and apply, or in that particular gene you apply that probe is usually fluorescent colors, or some kind of markers can be placed inside. Whenever they go for the what call the, if the probe is there, probe can be visualized or tracked. So once the probe is given and the crossing over happens, so you usually can understand where this probe is moving, and by that you can understand how this moves to different locations, and how it get hybridized or get combines with the other one. Same way, another is in situ hybridizing using non-radio labeled probe. So the one is by radio labeled probe, one is non-radio labeled probe, and the third one is called fluorescence in situ hybridization, called FISH fish. So using the fluorescence technique, they will identify it. So what is the specialty about it? It is simple, convenient, and intuitive, and only for known genes or known DNA segments we can apply. Cannot obtain high resolution maps on metaphase chromosomes or pre-metaphase chromosomes. So this is a limitation as well. Technique 2 is called gene mapping by somatic cell hybridization. Here hybridized forms are formed by using somatic cells. So somatic cell hybridization, which we call it cell fusion. Here hybridization word means something new which is going to form by using two different things. Okay, so here somatic cells are going to get fused together and form or make a hybridized to fuse somatic cells from different species. And experimentally based segregation techniques used to map genes to human chromosomes. Cells from two different species, for example human and rodents, are artificially fused together, right? So this is a or two different species they are taking, and in the previous one you have seen in the same species they are doing the hybridization. These culture lines are developed by mixing human and mouse cells in the presence of this Sendai virus. The virus facilitates the fusing of the two cells type to form a hybrid cells. So viruses are not always infective and dangerous, sometimes helpful too. This is the method shown by which they are fusing these two different cells. One is from human fibroblast cell and another is mouse tumor cell in presence of Sendai virus. You can see here in the presence of Sendai virus they are mixing it here. Okay, so fusion is happening here, formation of hybrids and proliferation of hybrids to form the colonies on selective medium. So here they'll get like that. These specialities of this method is simple, convenient, and intuitive only for analyzing the known gene or the products. Cannot map gene accurately because of the homologies between human genes and rodent genes. This method cannot succeed in mapping some of the genes, so not very much useful. Technique 3, here gene mapping by gene dosing using patient cells. The method which to detect dosage difference in either gene products or gene sequence themselves between patients cell lines containing different number of copies of a particular gene. Gene dosage means is the number of copies of a particular gene present in genome. Gene dosage is known to be related to the amount of gene product the cell is able to express. Okay, so here you can understand a cell is producing some kind of products through the gene expression process. So here gene doses is known to be related to the amount of gene product the cell is able to express. However, amount of gene product produced in a cell is more commonly dependent on regulation of gene expression. Okay, so it is directly related to what after the gene expression, what are the things have been formed. This is called as the gene doses. Nonetheless, change in gene doses, copy number of variations due to gene insertion or deletion can have significant phenotypic consequences. In the DNA level, the doses approaches has been used increasingly to design DNA markers to the X chromosome. Specialties: simple and convenient for the known gene for the other gene protein products. The cell lines involving numerical chromosomal aberrations are infrequent naturally. Technique 4: gene mapping by chromosomal aberration. Chromosomal aberration means any kind of defect in the chromosome called chromosomal aberration. To detect directly chromosomal aberration involving genes which may lead to particular disease. Chromosomal aberrations are a common cause of multiple anomaly syndromes that include developmental and growth retardation. Of course, a genome-wide microsatellite screen could detect chromosomal aberrations. This is a method by which they are detecting the chromosomal aberration. That's called the microsatellite screen that were not detected by standard cytogenetic techniques in a portion of these individuals. Specialties: simple, convenient, and intuitive for mapping the unknown genes. Most of the individuals with the chromosomal aberrations are eliminated naturally. Last technique is the called gene mapping by linkage analysis. So linkage already we have discussed enough on it. Linkage analysis is a method of mapping gene that use family studies to determine whether two genes how linkage shows linkage when passed on from one generation to the next. Mapping by genetic linkage analysis differs from mapping by physical methods because physical mapping relies on having a laboratory method to localize a gene by FISH or by somatic cell hybridization. In contrast, linkage analysis is a tremendously important and powerful approach in medical genetics because it is the only method that allows mapping of genes, including disease genes that are detectable only as phenotypic traits. Here I would like to tell you one important thing. It's called the LOD score, the statistical term that is generally calculated to evaluate the significance of linkage results is called a LOD score. Remember this word, significance of linkage results is called a LOD score. As you know, in our animal data or biochemical data, we calculate the significance score by the p-value. Here we are for significance of linkage, we have the LOD score. The LOD score compares likelihood of obtaining the rest data if the two loci are indeed linked to the likelihood of observing the same data purely by chance. So that's what they are finding, that really that loci are linked or by chance it happened. So that their confirmation, that's what called significance. Physical mapping, a little bit detail I'll give you here. A map generated by genetic techniques is rarely sufficient for detecting the sequencing phase of the genome project. This is for two reasons. The resolution of a genetic map depends on the number of crossovers that have been scored. Genetic maps have limited accuracy, relies upon observable experimental outcomes, hybridization, and amplification. So keep in mind, physical mapping is that what going to give you an absolute information where the gene is located. Types of physical map. Physical maps can be divided into three general types: chromosomal or cytogenetic map, radiation hybrid maps, RH maps, and sequence maps. The different types of maps vary in the degree of resolution. So what the difference in that these maps? They'll give you different resolution. That is the ability to measure the separation of elements that are close together. The higher the resolution, the better the picture. Always you know that. The lowest resolution physical map is the chromosomal or cytogenetic map. So cytogenetic map gives you the lowest resolution. You can see a picture I have shown you in beginning. There you see the cytogenetic map. All right, it's a little hazy one and it gives you a little what called coarse picture of that, which is based on the distinctive banding pattern observed by light microscopy of stained chromosomes. You can see that in that picture. As with genetic linkage mapping, chromosomal mapping can be used to locate genetic markers defined by traits observable only in whole organisms. Because chromosomal maps are based on estimates of physical distance, they are considered to be physical maps, right? So, very important point. Chromosomal maps are based on the estimates of a physical distance. So actually, you are knowing exactly the physical distances, so you can call it as physical maps. Yet the number of base pairs within a band can only be estimated. How are physical maps made and used? Radiation hybrid mapping, RH mapping like linkage mapping. So RH mapping is like a linkage mapping, shows an estimated distance between genetic markers. But rather than relying on natural recombination to separate two markers, scientists use breaks induced by radiation to determine the distance between two markers. Right? In RH mapping, a scientist exposes DNA to measure dose of radiation and in doing so control the average distance between the breaks in a chromosome. So they'll make a different breaks in the chromosome, find those pieces, and then they will identify the exact location of the gene. By varying the degree of radiation exposure to the DNA, scientists can induce breaks between two markers and they are very close together. The ability to separate closely linked markers allows scientists to produce more detailed maps. Here one more term is included called polymorphic genetic markers. So RH mapping provides a way to localize almost any genetic marker. So what you are doing, there are different markers and they are localizing it, where exactly that marker, as well as other genomic fragments to a defined map position and are extremely useful for ordering markers in regions where highly polymorphic genetic markers are hard to come by. Scientists also use RH maps as a bridge between linkage maps and sequence maps. In doing so, they have been able to more easily identify the location of genes involved in disease such as spinal muscular atrophy and hypercaplexia, or commonly known as Startle disease. Now, the sequence mapping, sequence tagged site or STS mapping is another physical mapping technique. And STS is a short DNA sequence that has been shown to be unique. The quality as an STS, the exact location and order of the base of the sequence must be known, and the sequence may occur only once in cross chromosome being studied, or in the genome as a whole if the DNA fragment set covers the entire genome. Common sources of STS express sequence tags are short sequence obtained by analysis of complementary DNA. Simple sequence length polymorphism, this is called SSLPs, and are arrays of repeat sequence that display length variations. SSLPs that are polymorphic and have already been mapped by linkage analysis are particularly valuable as they provide a connection between genetic and physical maps. Random genomic sequences are obtained by sequencing random pieces of clonal genomic DNA or by examining sequence already deposited in a database. The need to integrate physical and genetic maps. Now you have understood the genetic map, now you understood the physical map. Now what is the need to integrate both these maps and what information can come out? As with most complex techniques, STS based mapping has its limitations. In addition to gap in clone average coverage, DNA fragments may become lost or mistakenly mapped to a wrong position. This is a problem may come with the STS based mapping. These errors may occur for a variety of reasons. A DNA fragment may break, resulting in STS that maps to a different position. DNA fragments may also get deleted from a clone during the replication process, resulting in the absence of an STS that should be present. Sometimes a clone composed of DNA fragments from two distinct genomic regions is replicated, leading to DNA segments that are widely separated in the genomic being mistakenly mapped to adjacent positions. So these are the different reasons by which by different problems may come. So need the genetic maps integration. Lastly, a DNA fragment may become contaminated with host genetic material, once again leading to STS that will map to the wrong location. To help overcome these problems, as well as to improve overall mapping accuracy, researchers have begun comparing and integrating STS-based physical maps with genetic, radiation hybrid, and cytogenetic maps. So what they are doing for getting more accurate and precise information, they are using these different maps and integrating them together, and then they'll analyze and give you the collective information. Cross-referencing different genomic maps enhances the utility of a given map, confirm STS order, and helps order and orient evolving contexts. This is the difference slide, which give you the genetic map versus physical map. You can understand by what the difference of they have. Genetic maps are having low accuracy, while the physical maps are having the high accuracy. Rapidity, if you see, genetic maps are less rapid, while the physical maps are very rapid. Even the efficiency is different, less efficiency, and the physical maps are high efficiency. So you can understand the difference between these two. Importance of gene mapping. Why the gene mapping has to be done? Gene map is the anatomy of human genome. It is prerequisite to understand functioning of human genome. Helps in analysis of the heterogeneity and segregation of human genetic diseases. Helps to develop method for gene therapy. Provides clinically useful information about linkage. So these are very important point by which the gene mapping is very important to understand the disease spread and the disease location, disease gene location on different individuals. These are the references I have used. These are most of the research papers by which I have taken the help, and some information from here and there. So make these references. If you need to retrieve this information, please click on these references and find it out. So I hope this is a little complex chapter, complex information. If you go through with the patiently with the each slide, you can understand what this whole chapter about. So thank you so much for listening me carefully. Thank you.